But it's, again, it just tells the story of it's the evil and the ugliness of people's hearts these days is everywhere.
This is Franky Rose's Think Tank. Here's your host, Franky Rose.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Think Tank. So we have an awesome video ahead of us. Attorney Melanie Little did a segment with a very, very good police dog trainer, somebody who is very familiar with dog bites, and literally he trains dogs to be police dogs. So he has seen many a bite. So guys, this here is Attorney Melanie Little. She was kind enough to allow me to go through this with you. So with that said, let's do this.
That the defense showed in court with regard to the dog that resided at 34 Fairview Avenue on January.
I'm going to go back a bit. It seems like might have missed a bit.
For coming to spend part of your Friday, January 12th with me. It is 1 p.m. here on the East Coast in New York, and we have an amazing guest today to join the conversation about the Karen Reed case and the injuries to John O'Keefe's right arm that people are trying to tell us was not caused by an animal attack or a dog attack of any kind, but was caused by a low-speed motor vehicle accident. So what I would like to show you first, to refresh all of our recollection, is the exhibit that the defense showed in.
So guys, I do have her link in the description. Sub up to her. She is amazing.
In court with regard to the dog that resided at 34 Fairview Avenue on January 29th of 2022 named Chloe.
Where is Chloe?
So just give me 1 second to find it because it's underneath something.
Where is Chloe?
These things just disappear. First thing we're going to do actually is we're going to look at my appearance, the last part of my appearance on Court TV.
Yipes, guys. Wait till you see this.
In which I tried to say that from looking at the autopsy photos of John O'Keefe's right arm and my experience as a 30-year litigator of car accidents and other injury cases, including dog bite cases, by the way, that in my opinion, I thought the injuries were caused by an animal attack, but I was quickly shut down by another expert on the panel. So let's just take a look at this so that my guests will know what we are talking about.
Tell me why.
Opinion. I mean, any questions?
Coffin Duffer. Okay, all my guests back with us. Melanie Little, Peter Ellikin, and Jennifer Coffinduffer. Melanie, which case is easier to prove? That he was murdered in the house or that he was murdered by Karen Reed?
Buckle up here, guys. This is the whole reason that Melanie ended up doing this stream with Garrett. Just stay peeled.
I have so many questions. I think it's easier to prove that he was murdered in the house.
Tell me why.
Opinion. I mean, where's the dog?
Hey,
Where's
Tony.
the dog? I saw the photos of John Proctor's right arm that were taken at his autopsy. They have what clearly looks to me to be like animal scratches on them. All of a sudden, the family dog of 7 years, they had a German Shepherd in the house. The family dog is gone. They rehomed the dog. The dog is missing. The dog's DNA cannot be tested to see if those were, in fact, animal scratches. You know, there's a cocktail glass allegedly on the lawn They never searched the inside of the house. Why did they never go inside the house to see if they had those type of glasses inside the house?
Mm-hmm.
Why was the basement flooring ripped up? The house was sold. Why did this police officer who owned the house and his wife never come out of their house to look at the scene when there is a dead police officer on their lawn?
Right.
I have so many questions. And I think at the end of the day, the jury is going to have to decide the facts. And if we have so many questions from looking at these facts, I think a jury is going to have a lot of questions too.
Jennifer, which case is easier to prove?
Oh, without a doubt, the case that he was hit by Karen Reed. She had the motive. These are not dog scratches. That has been said by two medical examiners, separate medical examiners that examined him. Also, there were samples sent to a lab in California to test for non-human or canine DNA. Negative. So I find it so interesting that people want to look at a picture and all of a sudden they're medical examiners, they're doctors with PhDs, and they can say these are dog scratches.
What was that?
The point there, Brian Albert, they sold their house months and months after that. Also, they had a leak downstairs in the basement that resulted in quite a lot of damage, and that's why the flooring was replaced.
It almost feels like Jennifer Coffindoffer is attacking her. It wasn't a good look.
As far as the dog, Chloe got into a fight with another dog in that neighborhood. And during that fight, one of the neighbors went to separate the two dogs and was scratched or bitten. And it was decided amongst the people that they would go ahead and rehome the dog as opposed to making an even larger deal out of it. So there are very logical explanations, but these are the types of innuendos that have been completely blown up.
Brutal.
Innuendos that have been blown completely
advantage of doing at any time prior.
up.
It turns out,
And after that appearance, I started to think that maybe I was in the Twilight Zone. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe this absolutely did come from a car. But having handled motor vehicle accidents and dog bite cases for the entirety of my 30-year career, I knew that I wasn't crazy, but I needed some validation, not only from you, because all of you, I believe, feel the same way that I do, but I wanted to go to an expert, a canine trainer, someone who is retired from the Miami Police Department, who has a YouTube channel with over 1.7 million subscribers. And he's here today. But before we go to Garrett, I want to show you, refresh your recollection as to the timeline of events here that the defense showed in court as part of the motion hearing argument to obtain the animal control records of Chloe, the German Shepherd owned by Brian Albert and his family. So here's the exhibit that was shown in court by the defense with the timeline. February 2017, this picture was taken with the family, the Albert family, and here's a little picture of Chloe. That's all that we really have. In 2019, the Albert family registers ownership of its German Shepherd, Chloe. January 29th of 2022, John O'Keefe suffers what they are saying is not animal scratch and puncture wounds.
Welcome, Sage.
Which are unexplained by the prosecution. And here's a picture that was taken at autopsy of John O'Keefe's right arm. In May of 2022, the defense began its investigation into the injuries of John O'Keefe. And then also in May of 2022, the Alberts inform the Canton Animal Control that Chloe was allegedly rehomed out of state. And here's where they were at present when this was shown in court. The Commonwealth continues to, can't read what that says, release the defense access to tissue samples obtained from O'Keefe's arm for DNA analysis. And we did go over that. We looked at the emails between the attorneys. Either the tissue samples were lost or they were never taken. And without further ado, I am going to bring in my guest for today's show.
I've been looking forward to this.
Garrett Wing, who has a YouTube channel. I have linked his channel below. And please give a warm welcome to our guest, Garrett. Hello,
There we
Garrett.
go.
Hey, thank you so much, Melanie, for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Why
Yeah,
don't
my
you tell the viewers about your channel, tell us first about your background and your experience. And I just want to point out from the get-go that Garrett is not the kind of expert that could testify in court as to dog bites, but we are going to ask him and pick his brain with regard to his experience in his dog training, dog handling, police dog training, his experience of observing dog bites throughout his very long career. And we are going to get some information from him that way. Okay, so I'm going to give you the screen. Go for it.
Sure, and thank you for that. And not for nothing, I can pretty much guarantee you I've seen more dog bites than most any medical examiner. And I would say that because people don't often die from dog bites.
My supper just got here, so I am going to take myself off the screen and have a bite to eat. I've been streaming all day and haven't had a damn thing. So here we go.
Very rare, even police dog bites, which can be very serious and very gruesome. So I don't think medical examiners get to see a lot of dog bites on dead bodies. It just doesn't happen. Now, we're talking about gunshot wounds, and I'd be a little bit out of my league there. But when it comes to dog bites, I can't even tell you how many I have seen. We're talking dog bites on humans, whether it's on a suspect, or we get a lot of what we call accidental dog bites in training. When you're training and working with police dogs, you play with fire, sometimes you get burned. But to kind of set the stage with my background, my father was a police canine handler since 1981 with the City of Miami Police Department. I was born in 1983. And so when you are born into a home of a police canine handler, the dog is like your pet dog. It's there 24/7. So I grew up with police dogs. My father had 5 dogs in his career. And obviously I lived with my father the entirety of my childhood. So not only would we have one police dog in the house, but anytime that first police dog would retire, then we would replace it with the next police dog. And so we typically would have one retired and one active police dog in the house at all times. And again, just to give you more of my background in it, because when you're in police canine work, it's not just a job, it becomes a lifestyle because you bring the dog home with you, as I said earlier. And so I would go often with my father to police canine demos, bring your kid to work day. And my first experience actually taking a bite from a police dog on a sleeve was at the age of 8 years old. I took a bite from what was at the time my family pet, but was actually my dad's police dog. We were doing a demo for some kindergartners, and he said, "Hey, Garrett, my partner didn't show up today, and we want to put on a good show for the kids. Could do me a favor, put the sleeve on and go hide in the bushes." And I was actually like a little freaked out because I'd never done it before. And I told him, "Hey, Dad, I haven't taken a bite before." But having been in the game so long, my father was actually a little taken aback. He's like, "What do you mean you haven't taken a bite yet? Of course I've taught you how to take a bite from a police dog." I'm like, "No, not yet." He goes, "Well, today's your day." So that was the first time I took a police dog bite at 8 years old. And fast forward to when I was 16 years old, I started doing police ride-alongs with my father in the city of Miami. We're talking like late 90s. And late 90s City of Miami is very, very action-packed. A lot of crime going on, a lot of action in the city. And so our very first night out, working midnight shift in some of the rough areas of Miami, obviously, Overtown, Model City. And my father was a super go-getter when it comes to police work. He worked very hard and just loved the action and spent 28 years in the canine unit. So our very first night out, we get in a stolen vehicle chase, ends up in a car crash and a bailout, 3 suspects bail out in a school. And very long story short, I see my very first dog bite. I see how the dog tracks the suspect, locates him, and we get a dog bite at the age of 16 years old is when I see my first one. So not typical for a 16-year-old to be seeing that type of action, but I was hooked, needless to say, from that point forward. And I already knew I wanted to go into police work, but that kind of sealed the deal for me right there. And so I started doing ride-alongs almost weekly with my father. And every time we went out, we would get into some type of action. And whether it's his dog doing a dog bite or we would trail along another coworker who was in the canine unit, you name it. By the time I was about 18 years old, I'd seen more police dog bites than most police officers would see in their entire career, because not for nothing, the police canine unit is a very tight-knit community, and they don't trust even regular police officers to come in the backyard with them, to go on searches with them. They find that police officers who aren't up to par, who haven't trained with canine, become more of a liability than an asset. And so they're very selective on who they want in the backyard. And so it becomes very much just something special, right? When you form that relationship with the canine community or the canine unit, and they select you, because that's how it would go. And I'll get to that in a minute, but you're usually hand selected to go in the backyard with canine because they want to trust that you know what you're doing. They want to trust that you have their back, because it's a very dangerous job. And so anyways, at the age of 18, I actually got a job as a explosive ordnance detection dog handler. This is post 9/11/2001. Excuse me, I'm going to switch my earphones. Post 9/11/2001. And so all of these big corporations are really freaked out about terrorism, and especially bombs. And so I got a job with a company called Garrison and Sloan, still in business today. They hired me. I was trained by my father to work as an explosive ordnance detection handler, which is a bomb dog handler. And I worked at the Port of Miami, Port Everglades, where we would sweep all of the materials going on the cruise ships, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian Cruise Line, et cetera. So super cool job for someone at my age, only 18 years old. I had security clearance to work along the cruise ships and work these dogs, it's just an incredible experience. I was super blessed to have that opportunity. All the other handlers that were doing that work at the time were all current police canine handlers, and they were doing this as a side hustle to make extra money. And I got the hookup. I just got to tell you what it is. It was my father hooking me up with that job. Nobody else in my age was doing anything close to that. And so I got to work with, this is where I got my first real hands-on experience as a professional handler, working with German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, Dutch Shepherds, Labrador Retrievers, you name it. And all of these dogs were actually destined to become police dogs. They all had bite work training. They were just standing by, waiting for their opportunity to be picked up by a police agency, because that's what we would do back then. Is we would all police agencies would typically buy 2- and 3-year-old dogs that were imported from Europe, and that's the dogs I was working. So all of these dogs were fully trained. I didn't do bite work back then. I just strictly focused on trying to find explosives, but got very good at that. Did that for a couple of years before I started putting in my application in to get hired as a police officer. I get hired with the City of Miami Police Department, which happens to be the same agency that, again, my father had been working for already for a couple of decades. My mother was working for. She put in about 25 years with the City of Miami Police Department. Also, my stepfather and my stepmother all worked for that same agency. So I was the 5th wing to be hired with that agency. And fast track, you already know where I'm going with this. My whole purpose of becoming a police officer was to get in the canine unit. And you have to put in 2 years minimum with our agency to be considered for a specialized unit such as canine. And wouldn't you know, 2 years, as soon as the window opened, I put in my application and got accepted. And was in the canine unit, which was really cool because at that time my father was in the canine unit, my stepmother was in the canine unit, and I was. And so that is completely unheard of. I've never heard of that ever happening, having 3 people from the same family in the same unit. And again, just kind of bigger picture, my entire life growing up revolved around, like, our family vacations were going to police canine events. So my father competed in the United States Police Canine Association competition since before I can remember. And we would go to things called the Pig Bowl, which was something they don't do anymore, but the county would compete with the city, and it was all the police officers would do a football tournament, if you will. I didn't care about the football. What I cared about was the halftime show. The halftime shows were amazing back when the Orange Bowl existed in Miami. So what would happen is they'd bring in the helicopters, the dogs would rappel, the SWAT team, flashbangs going off, and of course, dog bite after dog bite after dog bite. And to this day, I always find it amazing to attend those types of dog demos, those canine demos, and seeing the dogs work. But that's really my background, if you will. I was in the police canine unit with the City of Miami at the age of about 22, 23 years old. Eventually became promoted to sergeant. And at that time, there was some turmoil in the canine unit, a lot of turmoil. It went through a couple of iterations, different leadership. And again, long story short, I got hand selected to come in during kind of a rough time in the canine unit's history, where they completely cleared out all of the supervisors and the lieutenant, and they brought in a new lieutenant. They brought in me as the senior supervisor, and we had to kind of clean house. The unit had kind of been run into the ground, and they brought me in to remake the unit. And remake the unit we did, and we really, I mean, one of the best times of my life was when I got to come back as a supervisor of the unit that my father had been a part of for almost 3 decades, that I had been a part of. And now I got to make it my own. I was the senior supervisor in charge of all of the training. And man, I really feel like we took that unit to the next level. And I eventually get promoted to lieutenant. And long story short, I was no longer in the canine unit, but I had to get my fix. And I got my fix by starting a couple of companies specializing in, well, the company was American Overwatch Canine Services, and we specialized in, that was my first venture outside of police work, where we would travel the country, and our mission was to make police canine handlers and their dogs just be better at their jobs, make sure that they did the best that they could, because it's a super high liability unit. And one of the specialties that we would teach is high risk, excuse me, getting interrupted by a phone call.
Always.
As always, always, but
Pretty much
high risk,
one of the best experts out
tracking
there.
for armed and violent offenders. And that was our specialty. And we also would do a street worthy class, which was, guess what? The focus of that class was just to get dogs to basically engage and be tougher and bite harder on the street. And so that's just a little sprinkling of my background. And now we actually specialize in pet dog training. Of all the stuff my background is, the money happens to be, we say for every police dog that needs training, there's about 10,000 civilians or pet dogs that need training. And so that's what we specialize in now.
Well, I hereby deputize you as an expert in canine dog training and handling, and you are, as far as I can tell, very qualified to speak on this subject. So many people, tell everyone, first of all, what your YouTube channel is, what the name of your YouTube channel is.
American Standard Dog Training. You can also find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, American Standard K9.
Right. And you have 1.7 million subscribers, so good for you. You'll have to teach me the secrets one day. A lot of people in the chat are saying that that somebody says, no, Chloe had no canine training. She was a rescue, just a reactive house pet. Not sure about that. Somebody says that she was a failed police dog because of her aggression. Somebody said she was a police dog in training. And how many Lexuses have you seen with a dog bite upgrade? That was just a funny one that I put in there. Janine says, I was under the impression Chloe was a failed police trained dog. So what we want to do is talk about both scenarios. How a German Shepherd specifically would behave as a trained canine dog, and how one would behave if it was a household pet, and how one would behave if it was a failed canine dog. And I know that you have some video to show us. So let me know which one you want to handle first.
Sure. So I think the first thing that stands out to me, so I'm assuming, and I don't know too much about the case, I don't know too much about the dog. Chloe, I'm assuming this is a female dog.
I would imagine if her name's Chloe, but if anybody knows for sure.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up is it's extremely rare to have a female police dog. It's very, I think in my entire career, I've seen 2. Extremely rare. Takes a very special, it takes a very special dog, period. But we usually pick the males because of that testosterone. They can handle it a lot better because it's a tough job. And not to say the female dogs can't do it. It's just very, very rare. So it's possible that she was a washout. We do have a lot of police dog washouts. They typically are washed out for what we call bad nerves, meaning they can't handle that stress. They can't handle the gunshots, the violence. We would do simulated type of, we actually do tremendous amount of testing. We can go deep on the testing of just what it takes for us to even select a potential candidate to get enrolled in a police canine program, which takes anywhere from 4 to 6 months. Once we take the dog, still 4 to 6 months of training all day, every day to get them qualified to even hit the street. So we like to do a very robust testing process before we even take the dog in. And I can dive into the details on what some of this testing might be, but one of the things would be just testing the nerves. Can the dog handle the stress of a simulated encounter with a bad guy?
It seems it's been confirmed through the animal control records that Chloe was actually a female German Shepherd.
Okay.
So that does that change your opinion at all? Or let's move on from here. Let's see what videos you have and what you can show us about what a German Shepherd attack would look like.
Sure. So I came across this video just in my own research of what I do daily. We do a lot of reviews of dog bites and dog fights and things like that. So this is fairly recent. This is actually from my hometown where I grew up in South Florida, Cooper City, which is a small town outside of Fort Lauderdale. And so I'll share my screen here. And this is a delivery driver, fairly recent. I'd say this is 3 or 6 months old. She comes and delivers a package. I guess she left something, so she comes back. And you're going to see a German Shepherd that I am very confident has little to no training. This is not a police dog.
Okay.
And you will see, because what I want to kind of frame here is you don't need to be a trained police dog. You don't need to be a trained protection or, quote, attack dog to be a dog and bite someone. There are a lot of dogs out there biting people left and right with little to no training. And when we get into it further and we talk about the actual injuries, it actually plays into the dog that, if he was bit, that doesn't look like a police dog bite, in my opinion. And we'll talk about that. But let's go ahead and show you this video and see what you all think about it. And it's a little gruesome. I'll warn you now.
Yeah, trigger warning.
Rough. Yeah.
Trigger warning for anybody who's sensitive to this.
I'll get to the part where this is her after the bite, and I want you to kind of pay attention to the type of injuries you're seeing. And the thing that I want to just continue to point out is the type of injury. A lot of people think of dog bites are puncture wounds. It's very rare that a dog bite is a puncture wound. They are often lacerations. Think of it as sticking a knife in and pulling, because naturally that's what dogs do. They bite their prey and they pull. And or if you were to get bit by a dog, the very first thing you'll try to do is pull away, and it creates those types of injuries. So let's go ahead and go into the video here. This is after the woman is bit.
I was bit by a German Shepherd when I was a kid, and I still got the scar, and it was a tear. It wasn't a puncture, it was a tear.
Bit. She's in her car and she's a little shooken up, and you can see right here, and we'll play it in a minute, but this is not a puncture wound. This is a laceration from a dog bite. And then
dog attack.
Watch how quickly this goes down. Again, very confident that this is not a protection dog. This is a German Shepherd doing what German Shepherds were bred to do for hundreds of years: protect their home.
That attack captured by her own dash camera.
All I can say was, help me, help me. I thought I was going to die.
Deanna Riveros needed more than 30 stitches.
I'm going to go back to that. See the laceration?
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's not a puncture wound, but we're all pretty clear this is a dog bite. She got bit. The weight of the dog alone biting and trying to pull its prey down to the floor, and her potentially pulling away is what causes this. Especially too, and we see this a lot in police canine work, when the dogs bite, we are actually taught to provide what's called back tension, and it makes the dog bite harder. And or when you see police canine handlers who aren't as good as they should be, when they go to remove a dog off of a bite, they're often doing what's called a choke off. And you can call it a choke off. It's more of like a rip off. And they will actually grab the collar of the dog, especially these really high just high drive dogs in general, which we train all day, every day. And we're basically telling them, never let go. Hold on. No matter what happens, don't let go. And oftentimes you'll see police dogs, this is a story for another day, but they often do not let go on the first, second, third, fourth, fifth command, because they're like, make me. And so you're forced to pull the dog off, and it creates really, really bad, nasty lacerations. So we'll play this just a little further, but you can see how quickly this, in my opinion, is completely untrained German Shepherd just goes right into action.
30
I just want to point out, wait, just stop for 1 second.
To walk
Sure.
after what
I want to point out that you said lacerations and that the medical examiner in her report calls those injuries abrasions. Abrasions.
Not an abrasion.
Yeah,
Nothing
abrasions.
official. That's not.
Can you imagine?
That's not like a curb rash or street
Mhm.
rash, or you fall off your bike.
Scrape.
We've all been there, a scraped knee. There's no abrasion there. There's just straight up lacerations
I agree.
and potentially some puncture wounds. This may be a slightly different angle. Just watch it again and we'll move to something else. But look how quickly this dog doesn't hesitate to jump in.
So I went back to her house.
When the door opened, a dog pushed past its owner.
I see the video and I'm just like, I don't understand how I escaped.
She was knocked to the ground as the dog kept biting into her body.
I just look up to the sky and I say,
And I'd also say that this interaction probably lasted no more than 15 or 30 seconds. So imagine what a dog bite looks like when the fight takes place over 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. You're going to get a lot more damage.
And this is the dog attacking the dog's owner. Yeah, this is not.
No, this is a dog. This is attacking the delivery driver.
Okay, all right, got
coming
it.
back. But we often do see, and I don't know if the owner suffered injuries too. Sometimes the dogs will redirect on their owners. If anyone's ever tried to break up a dog fight, you find out real quick how quickly you can get bit when the dog's in a frenzy like that. But no, this is the dog attacking just an Uber delivery driver, just knock, knock. And the dog just jumped into what we would kind of refer to as like a territorial drive. Who are you? This is my pack. You don't belong. Let me defend my turf. But again, my point being, that's about an 85-pound German Shepherd. I don't know if it's a male or female. It doesn't really matter. Just how much damage can be done from a pet dog, what we would consider a power breed. And German Shepherds are often considered a power breed, meaning dogs that pack a punch and don't necessarily need to be trained to bite. That's what they do. They don't have hands, really. They use their mouth to explore their world and defend their territory.
Wow. Okay. All right. Moving on.
He's got
The
some
next
great
video.
information.
Sure. Well, what I'd probably like to show you now, let's see. I think we'll start with the video and then I'll show you kind of the aftermath. Let me pull this up. I think we have one ready to go here. These are what we use. I don't even know which. There's so many cool videos to show you. This is some behind the scenes stuff that we don't normally share. But I thought your viewers would find it interesting how we get police dogs to bite and kind of the mechanics of the bite and some of the, like I said, the equipment that we use. And I actually brought some. So if this interests you at all, let me know. But this is a typical bite sleeve. And we use this basically to allow the dog to bite as hard as they want, but to protect ourselves. These come in different grades, thicknesses, and they get thinner and thinner or thicker as you need them. But as we start progressing and trying to get the dogs to actually, one of the hardest things to teach a police dog to do actually is bite human flesh. It's very hard to do because dogs, generally speaking, are man's best friend. And so to get them to actually go from biting equipment to actually biting real human flesh, some dogs, it's a very easy transition. Those are those harder dogs, a little bit crazier. But most of the time, we actually have a hard time getting them to commit to a bite. And so a dear friend of mine, actually, Steve Sprouse, who's been in the police canine world for probably almost 4 decades, invented this equipment that I want to show you now. And his company is called Arm & Lagan. And what he does is he creates these prosthetic limbs specifically made for teaching police dogs how to bite. And this particular one has a little bit more than a handful of bites on it. The idea here being we set up a scenario, a training scenario with a bad guy. I'll play the bad guy, let's say. The dog, by the way, does not know it's a training scenario. That's the ticket. That's the trick. In all dog training, by the way, whether it's pet dogs or police dogs, they don't know whether they're training or not. We try to make it as real to life as possible. So the dog comes out, we hide, dog finds the bad guy, and the only thing we try to make available is this, because this is the only thing stopping us from getting really bit. There's no other protection. And I want to show you, you see the lacerations that are caused from dog bites?
Look at those.
You're not really seeing punctures. It looks as if this was stabbed with a knife. Now, that's the closest to a puncture. But for the most part, it's ripping. It's a ripping type thing. Dogs bite
Very
and they
much
pull.
so.
And at the same time, we are naturally pulling back to create our own back tension,
Whoa.
which is exactly what, what a rabbit would do in the wild. You know what I mean? A rabbit doesn't, we call them, there's no such thing as suicide bunnies. If a bunny or any other prey item is getting bit, their whole objective is to get away, get away, get away. And that's where you get the lacerations that happen. So that's one piece. And here's another one.
Exactly.
By the way, tell me if this doesn't look
at this one.
kind of similar to something we may see a little later.
Look at that.
Pretty interesting, right? Don't mind the discoloration. This was just a funky mold. But again, look at the lacerations. And I have to kind of spread it because of the material, but
look at that.
They're more like cut wounds. And you can see the angle, right? It's pretty consistent depending upon how you present it. So hopefully your viewers find that pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And
would there go ahead? Let me just go ahead. Finish before you, and then I'll. Would there be?
If you wanted to see a video of a dog actually doing it.
Yeah, we do totally. But we're saying, could you explain bite marks on one side of the arm? Maybe can't see all the photos, and Jo could have wounds under. Sorry if duplicate. I have not seen any photos of the inside of the arm. So let us know in your experience what you see in these types of dog attacks.
Sure. So yeah, sometimes you will not see like a mirror image of the bite. Sometimes it really is. It's just like you see here. It's very hard to tell where the top tooth was, the bottom tooth was, where's the matchup. Those top canines tend to do the most damage. But it's very hard to match up. Like, is this the top? Is this the bottom? Is this from one bite? Or is that one canine? Is this a different bite? Very tricky to tell. It's not like a vampire bite, where it's two here and two here. It's never looks like that. And one of the hardest things to do, one of the not fun parts of my job as a police canine supervisor is writing bite reports. I cannot tell you how many bite reports I have done. And one of the parts of the bite report that is very important is to document in as much detail as possible the actual injury. And so, yeah, you could say he had a dog bite on the arm. Yeah, but it was actually, and this is, trust me when I say this, how do you have a 3 laceration dog bite? Meaning sometimes the dog bites are pretty straightforward. It's a single bite. And when we look at the injury, it's 1 or 2 cuts here and 1 on the bottom. And then I'm like, I'd have to call the canine handler like, hey, correct me if I'm wrong, man. Is your dog missing a canine tooth? Which happens. Sometimes they get pulled out, ripped out, whatever. He's like, no, I just got all 4. I'm like, well, I don't know how we only got 3 lacerations, but sometimes the dog's coming in at an angle. Mm-hmm. It's not always just a perfect bite. And the other thing that you see with untrained dogs or dogs that are, whether it's a police canine washout or it's just a dog who doesn't know how to bite, wasn't trained to bite, is you will see what's called shallow biting. Shallow biting is when they only use their canines to bite, and it creates a lot more of those lacerations versus police dogs, trained dogs to bite. We teach them to bite and hold and bite deep. And so, because what we don't want is a police dog to do more damage than they need to, right? We have a suspect that's refusing to say, come out. I don't want the dog going in there and just biting and letting go and biting and biting.
Awesome.
Next thing you know, you have to explain why was the guy bitten 8 times.
The information that he
bite
has
that we are looking for is what's considered a bite and hold.
And great
one bite,
job, Melanie
I don't care
Little.
how long the fight takes place. It can typically last anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds, though some guys want to put up a longer fight, 2 or 3 minutes, which would be extended. But even if it was a 2 or 3 minute ordeal where the guy's all out fighting with the dog and we're struggling to get him in handcuffs, we're looking for 1 bite, 1 hold, and not all up and down the arm. But that takes a lot of work to get a dog to do that. What we see, and these are the dogs that get washed out, are the what we call nervy dogs. They're more like jabbing with their teeth. They'll reach out and bite, but they don't commit to the bite. And again, if they're not trained to bite and hold and they haven't built up that grip strength and they're not biting deeply, then it's very easy to pull away from the grasp of that dog. Very easy to do that. which then the dog re-engages, and that's what can create a scenario where you have multiple bites. And that's the first thing that came to mind. And in fact, when I shared the photo, the autopsy photo, and should I share it now so we can refer to
Sure,
it?
bring it up.
Yeah. When I shared this, actually, knowing I was going to come on here, and I was unaware of the case, but the photo itself is very interesting. Let me see if I can pull it up. You know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Yeah, this should do it. I think this will get it done here. Yeah. Just bear with me as I pull this up.
Sure. All right.
I actually sent this photo to 2 other police canine handlers and who are also trainers who themselves have seen countless
Looks the
bites.
same to
Probably
me.
between us, we've seen, you know, hundreds each. And I
Just
didn't
like
say
that
anything. I
gummy
said,
arm.
what are your thoughts on this? And they said, there was zero question that this is a dog bite. Zero question to them. Their thought, though, was that this was a police dog that probably should have been washed out. This is not what we want to see on a police dog bite. We don't want to see constant re-engagements, which is what this looks like.
Yep.
But this is what I would expect from, like, that German Shepherd we saw bite that lady, the delivery driver, right? Just naturally going in, doing as much damage as possible, not understanding the mechanics of biting deep and holding. These, in my opinion, are bites utilizing the front of the mouth. Furthermore, I had seen video, and I could be wrong, but when Mr. O'Keefe was last seen on that surveillance camera in the bar, it appears like he's wearing a long sleeve shirt, almost like a sweater, maybe.
Yeah, somebody was asking that exact question. So let me pull up that exact question, but keep going.
And this is exactly indicative of a dog. And we see this even with trained police dogs. When someone's wearing baggy clothing or long sleeves or jeans or a jacket, you're going to get these more shallow bites. The dog's constantly trying to get a grip on the prey. And of course, the prey item is moving away, and you're going to get these. This is what's considered shallow bite marks. This is the dog trying to get a grip, but the only thing that's sinking in are those front teeth. And the biggest thing that kind of stood out to me, I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, but this bite right here, I'm even calling it a bite. I'm trying to stay objective here, but these look like, and you see this a lot with shallow bites. What it looks like is this is maybe the left canine, maybe the bottom right canine, or the canine here, but these.
Is there a way for you to enlarge that photo
on
your screen? Yeah, there we go. It's a V
This
shape.
looks like the front teeth. Think of the dog's, let's say potentially the teeth were here, the bottom teeth were here. These little ones here are the little, and I'm not a veterinary dentist by any means. These are the small little baby teeth. Actually have a very crude example here. I don't know if you guys can still see me or if I have to stop.
Yeah, I'm going to give you, I'll give you the full screen.
Don't mind this. We use this for one of our videos. Not the canines, but these little teeth right here. When you get a shallow bite, that's what it looks like. And I can actually pull up another picture of a dog bite that we know is a dog bite. And you're going to see the same kind of, I don't know if you want to call it striations, but those front baby teeth also causing damage.
Hey, Maxie.
So I'll stop sharing for a second, and then I'll reshare.
So Olivia asked, can the dog bite and scratch through sweatshirt sleeves, long sleeves, on long sleeve shirt?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, that's when you're going to see, again, more shallow biting, less punctures, because the dog keeps trying to get a grip, but that material offers just a little bit of protection and makes the material slip more, which gets you more of that kind of striping or laceration. So I'm going to share my screen again, and this again is another dog bite, an actual dog bite that no one's arguing. And you're going to see this is a very minor dog bite, but this is from those front baby teeth. I'm saying baby teeth, but you know, whatever those little teeth are between the canines. See that?
Yeah.
That might be from a canine, but this is those.
Oh, look at
that's just from a really, really shallow bite, right? Where the dog just barely got a hold of the skin and those front teeth.
Look at that.
Which we can see a lot in dogs that are in a more of a defensive drive, meaning they're not trying to kill something, but they're saying, you know, get away from me. So they're not committing to the bite.
It's
And
so
so-
interesting because most people, I think, when we look at this, not being experts in dog bites or dog handling, would say that those look like scratches.
Yeah, that is a dog bite all day from the front teeth, those little baby teeth between the canines. They can do
get
some
it.
damage too.
Great. Okay, you said you had a video.
Yeah, let me pull that up, and we'll just show you some dog bites. Again, these are trained dogs that, or at least in training, learning how to bite, but you'll get a feel for what a dog bite looks like from a Belgian Malinois or a German Shepherd. Let's go ahead and I'll pull this one up, make sure it's kosher for you all. All right. Don't mind some of the sound effects that are happening. It's going to be allowed. No real trigger warning here. This is a German Shepherd, young police dog, about a year old, learning how to bite through different materials. Share my screen again. This should be good.
Okay.
When we do get them off, run away behind that tree if you can. Like he fucked you up. Oh yeah! One more good bite.
Yeah, they don't want to let go, right?
Yeah.
Run.
Beautiful dog. Really like that dog. We have other videos like that. I'll go ahead and pull up another one where you should actually see.
Oh, it's the other pictures
that
we have on
raking
Discord.
motion
My bad.
happen. We're
Okay.
using newspaper in this instance just to teach the dog that if we ask you to bite, I don't care what the guy's wearing, because you'd be surprised what these bad guys do. They'll cover themselves in you name it. We had to bite a guy
They tell
once.
the guy just run.
We had to bite a guy once. How often do you hear that in everyday conversation? We had to bite a guy once.
Yeah, this guy had run into a school and he was hiding in, like, I don't know, it was a kindergartner's class or first grade class. It's actually pretty hairy because he was armed with a gun, and
Oh no.
it's actually a really funny story. It's
So
worth
it was a potential
pausing.
school shooting? Like this was not a
No,
training
this is
exercise?
after hours. This is after hours,
Oh, okay.
and there's no one in the school, but we knew he went last, and
I
we
wouldn't
had to get him out of the school
wanting
because
to
the next day
volunteer
was
for that.
it's like 3 a.m. We gotta get him out of the school because we can't open the school, and there's a bad guy hiding. And guess where he's hiding? He had found himself in a classroom and just covered himself with like gym equipment, stuffed animals, you name it, but he had completely covered himself. Think of it like a pile of like
Hey,
dirty
Dave.
clothes. And the only thing we saw when we passed by was his eye like poking out between like some socks. And I was like, he's right there. And then anyways, the dog smelled him. The dogs use their nose. Actually, they don't use their eyes very much when they're in like a hunt mode like that. And the dog dove in, was biting like I don't know, somebody's leftover gym socks.
Oh,
He said, no,
wow.
that's not the bad guy. You got to re-engage and get the actual guy who's underneath all of that stuff. So, but anyways, I'll talk your ear off about dog bite after dog bite. Let me see if I can
Oh, I
find
bet.
a good one where, yeah, this is a good one.
Let me just hold on 1 second. I just want to highlight this comment to tell this person, helping a cop killer for clicks and views. Really? Is that what you think we're doing here? Is that what you think you do? Because really what I'm doing here is trying to refute Jennifer Coffindoffer's trying to make me look like an idiot on national TV, on court TV, by saying that those are no way in hell dog bites. So I don't know who you are, Slappy, but you might want to slap yourself out of this chat. Thanks. Bye. Sorry about
Good
that,
on him.
Garrett.
Oh, we get them on our end too. All right, so this should be a pretty cool one. This is a Belgian Malinois.
Freaking people.
A little what we call panicky on the bite. We get in so much talk about how dogs bite and the type of biting they do. This is a dog that this is a
right?
very foreign material in his mouth. He's never bitten newspaper before, and we'll just see how he does. Present again. Thank you all for your patience. Doing pretty good
Right.
considering.
No worries, you're doing great. Yeah.
All right, I am a dog trainer. I'm not a.
And then, then we want to see, I think you have a video on your channel, a video of a German Shepherd who is untrained, and you talk about, the natural propensities of German Shepherds in general and how they protect their owners, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes, very often, no training required with these power breeds that just genetic, that you don't need to train them to bite. You actually have to train them not to bite everybody. That's not always the case with German Shepherds, but there's different breeds. Like my breed of choice, one of them anyways, the Italian Mastiff, the Cane Corso. You really don't need to train that dog to bite. They will typically do it with no training. We actually have to train them to not bite Uncle Jeff who comes over once or twice a
Right.
year. All right, so let's check this one out.
Get on it. All right.
Oh,
Watch your hand. Watch your hand. Yep. This is your hand.
See this
Use
dog?
your other hand. Yep. Yep.
yeah, I don't want that job.
I'm going to switch with you in a second. And you're going to take that hand, put it up here, I got you, and a little pressure that way with the heel. Good. Don't be afraid.
Still.
You're safe here. You can
Stella.
wrap your fingers.
Good.
It's starting to tear through.
Good, Stella.
One more. All right, now. Good. Take them off.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Good. That was good.
And you see how much ripping happens, right? Rip the newspaper
Yeah.
right off.
Did you see the beginning of the
Wow.
stream?
Mm-hmm.
So what can you tell us about German Shepherds generally as a breed? Assuming that Chloe was either a washout, as you say, or was not a trained police canine at all.
Yeah, I would lean towards it probably not even being a washout.
Yeah,
Again,
no.
it's very atypical to have a female dog even potential to go through police canine training. I'm saying it's not unheard of, but it's very rare. But again, I don't even think that's the case. I think it's
The beginning,
just
I'll fill you in quite a bit.
your typical German Shepherd that has lineage of what we call working line German Shepherds, because not all German Shepherds are created equal,
Ooh.
right? I don't want to go too deep in on the breed, but you have East German, West German, American lines, show lines, working lines, DDR lines, and all of these, even though they're German Shepherds, to the trained eye, they are very different creatures, very different. So
I bet.
not knowing anything about Chloe, but there's the potential, because you got to remember what these dogs are originally bred for, and that is to be
Beautiful dogs.
aside from herding animals, they at some point were shifted over to being amazing guardians, homestead guardians, right? And protectors, and of course, police dogs. My dad's first 4 dogs were all German Shepherds. My police dog was a German Shepherd, a DDR line, working line dog. Absolutely capable of biting humans. They're strong enough, they're robust enough, they're tough enough to go in the backyard with us and bite a bad guy. And then when the bad guy puts up a fight or punches them or kicks them or bites them, or bites their ear, they double down and they bite you even harder. Again, that's the best of the best will do that. But even here, you want to find something interesting?
Yeah.
Back in the day when my father was first starting out in canine, like I said, early 80s, his first police dog was, and this is where we got them back in the day, there weren't these really robust programs of training dogs, and we weren't importing dogs from Europe yet. We were getting police dogs. I say we, mean the police community. We were getting like junkyard dogs. We were getting people's German Shepherds that they got from a breeder who were too much for them to handle. They're like, yeah, this dog's biting my neighbors.
Wow.
This dog's trying to bite my kids. I don't know what to do with it. He'd probably make a great police dog. And sure enough, that's what we would do. We would go and test these dogs. And yep, the dog's got a little bit of a mean streak. We'll take him. We'll channel all that energy, his natural propensity to want to bite people. We'll just channel it where it needs to go. And so my dad's first police dog was exactly that. It was just a hand-me-down dog from some family that had bought a nice-looking German Shepherd that was just a little too tough for them. And so that still happens to this day. We get calls all the time. Hey, I have this really mean X, Y, and Z. You want to consider it for police work. Nowadays, we don't really want the quote mean dogs. We like them to be very social with the ability to turn on and turn off. But yes, I guess what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way is you wouldn't be blowing my mind if you said, yeah, I adopted a German Shepherd from the pound. I bought a German Shepherd from a breeder, and it bit my neighbor for no apparent reason, just because it came in the back door. I'm like, yeah, that's because that's what they do. Why does the German Shepherd do that? Genetics. It's just in their DNA. It's like, why does a goldfish like to swim in a bowl of water? It's just what they do. So it's very much in the DNA of a German Shepherd to be a guardian, a protector. And again, they don't need to be trained to do that. And yet, what can trigger a German Shepherd to do that?
Yeah.
Or any dog, but especially these power breeds. It can be just stranger danger. They know who belongs in their pack and who doesn't. But for sure, what can instigate a dog to want to bite someone is seeing violence between two humans or even between two dogs. It's like this pack mentality. They jump in almost like a feeding frenzy. You all may have seen this on your own, where the family pet is the amazing family pet, wouldn't hurt a fly, but the kids start roughhousing a little bit. Maybe dad is like roughhousing with one of the babies, you know, and we're playing, but the dog growls. You're like, whoa, why is she growling? I've never seen her growl before. She's protecting her pack and trying to say, hey, I don't like what's happening there. So, that's typical too.
So Brooklyn Payzola says, so basically a German Shepherd would 100% jump in during a melee in the house.
Yes and no. Yes, there are some dogs that absolutely do it with no training. And I will also have to say the other side of the coin. A lot of dogs, regardless of the breed, will absolutely pee and poop themselves and run out of the room like, yo, this is not for me. It really depends. But I think we had heard that this dog had been rehomed and then rehomed.
Well, this dog, we know that this dog bit two other humans in skin piercing incidents, I believe, after this incident that were recorded, and those victims went to the emergency room. So we know that. So there's that. I don't know that we've had a whole lot of prior records with regard to this dog. Some people say that Chloe may have been a rescue, but I don't think. I think based on what you're telling us, it doesn't really matter whether Chloe was a rescue, adopted from the pound, a canine washout, that this breed of dog, a German Shepherd, may bite somebody regardless of their training or not, or lack of training.
Correct. Yeah. And mind you, we deal with this on the regular. In fact, the last German Shepherd we had in our program, he just went home about 4 or 6 weeks ago, bit his owner. No training, just a dominant dog that didn't like being touched or told what to do, and bit the owner right in front of us, actually.
Wow.
And we got him back on track, but no training there. We had to train the biting out of him.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, this is all great information. I don't know if you have any more videos that you want to show us. I'll look to the chat for questions while you're looking for that. Let me just see. Aaron, thank you for your super chat. At a hearing, Attorney Little, no relation to me, held up a chalk of the same photo to illustrate defense's point. Judge Bev immediately scolded her and made her put it down. I remember that. Thank you, Galen, for gifting 10 memberships to my channel. I appreciate you so much. YouTube randomly distributes them. I have no control over who gets them. So sometimes I see people saying, I want one. How do I get it? You just have to be participating in the chat and opt it into gifts. Sarah, thanks for your super chat. Excellent guest host and a fascinating learning experience. Thank you. Thank you. I felt like I had to defend myself against that court TV appearance because I needed to know that I wasn't crazy. I needed some sort of validation. This clearly looks to me like a dog attack. Katie May, generational conditioning protection is bred into them at that point. Would you agree with that, Garrett?
100%. Yeah, it's like I said, it's in their DNA. You don't need to teach. If you told me it was a golden doodle or a golden retriever, yeah, that's not so much in their DNA. They want to get belly rubs and they want to play fetch. But German Shepherds, Corsos, any of those guardian breeds, like that's why we get them, because it's in their DNA. I'm trying to find another video with, again, a completely untrained German Shepherd that is basically a menace, biting the crap out of people. And the dog ends up getting put down. It's kind of a sad story, but we did this review on this incident about 8 months ago. I'm going to pull up the video and just show you actually see the dog try to bite a police officer.
Thank you, Todd, for buying me a coffee. I appreciate your $20 super chat. Thank you so much.
Let me get this video to load and then we'll
all right, sure. I'll just keep thanking people in the meantime. Thank you, Morgan, for becoming a new member. And just G, thank you for your super chat. We need Garrett as an expert witness for the defense. Who knows, after this video, maybe somebody will be reaching out to you, or more than one might be reaching out to you.
And I'll tell you too, when it's time to get into that, if you want to.
Sure.
I've seen a lot of pedestrians hit by vehicles. A lot. You see that a lot. In the city of Miami. By the way, be careful when you go in Miami. Most people don't have a license or insurance, and they come from, third world countries where so you got to get a Frogger sometimes when you get across the street and people get blasted. A lot of hit and runs in Miami. A lot.
Wow.
But my point being, for someone to get hit by a car and be killed, there's damage. I mean, significant. It's not a little cracked lens. It's its body panels completely mushed in. Like when you see a car that's hit a deer,
Correct.
lighter than humans. I mean, it destroys a car. And so to have, you know, again, I don't know if we want to get into that or not, but
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I know you've seen, and I too have handled thousands of car accident and dog bite cases during the course of my career. And that those injuries to his right arm specifically are not a result of a low speed pedestrian versus
yeah,
Lexus SUV accident. They're just not. And
exactly.
you don't need to be a medical doctor to say that.
Well, let me
in my
share
opinion.
this. This is, again, a completely untrained German Shepherd. It had already bit, I'll just give you the backstory. It had already bit the neighbor for no reason, just what we would call leash reactivity. Is a dog that's hyper alert and doesn't want anyone near its pack. And the lady did not comply with a lot of
Shepherds.
rules and stipulations that were handed down for the dog to get training and to.
So what do you think, guys? Pretty informative? I just thought this was a great stream. I mean, it gives us a really, really good idea as to how dogs react and a really good look at what actual dog bites look like. I don't think that does not look like someone was backed over. Not in my opinion, not even close.
Do all kinds of stuff. The lady was non-compliant, and so animal control basically comes and says, look, you haven't done what we've asked you to do. This dog is a dangerous dog. We need to take it until you get this stuff figured out. And in the process of doing that, police were there just to keep the peace, and this is what happens.
All right. Let's say good intro.
Yeah, I agree, Tony. 1,000%. Whoa.
Dog actually bit the police officer right there for no reason. Untrained German Shepherd just being leash reactive and doing what it thinks it's supposed to be doing, which is defending his or her mom. I think it's a male dog.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
Just say it one more time.
Wow.
No thanks.
Yeah, so training or no training, it's, you know, dogs can bite.
Wouldn't it be dangerous to rehome a dog with several bites like Chloe had, says Sushi?
Of course, you know, but it happens, right? We try to give the dog a second and sometimes a third and a fourth chance. Sometimes just a change of leadership, as we call it, will make the difference, but oftentimes not, you know.
In this same vein, Joey just saying, says, are German Shepherds more prone to continue biting people after a major attack? Would that explain the next two bites?
Yes. So there's some names for it, if you will, but when they get a rep like that under their belt, we kind of call it like a boxer who gets its first win, start getting a little cocky, a little confident, and you know, feeling like, yeah, I got this. It worked out for me this time. And dogs can be pretty simple creatures. When I feel threatened, like look at that German Shepherd, zero hesitation. It bit that police officer because it's been doing that. It's been rehearsing that for, at that point, probably months and months, if not years. When I see someone I don't like, I lash out at them, and either mom removes me from the situation, which makes me feel better, or they run away. Oh yeah, you better run away. I'm going to get you next time. And so the dogs, even though they might not be fighting each time, they are playing that out. And then, yes, 100% dogs that have bit before are much more likely to bite a second, third, fourth, fifth time. Same thing with our police dogs. Like I said earlier, it's very hard. One of the hardest things to do is to get a dog to actually bite someone. But once they kind of cross that bridge, that's it. Like, you don't have to worry about it anymore. They just have to get that first bite under their belt, and then they're good to go.
Wow. Here's a great question. And so a couple of viewers actually sent me this question in advance as well. KK says, what is the best way to end a dog biting you?
The only way is what we say: deprive the dog of oxygen. Simply put, you have to choke the dog out. Doesn't sound pretty. There's nothing nice about it, but trust me when I tell you, like,
wow,
it's the only way. Now, and it seems extreme, but I'll tell you what doesn't work, especially with a really hard dog. And I hate to pick on breeds. I love all breeds, but you see it a lot, unfortunately, is the pit bulls and bully type breeds. They have tremendous drive and they have a very high pain tolerance. And so you see those videos where the pit bull or any power breed is biting another dog or a person. And you see people coming over with glasses of water. I saw one the other day, it was happening in a bar. They're pouring milk on it, ice water, hitting it with a broom. It's not doing anything. You're just making the dog more pissed off, and it's just that much more determined to hang on to the bite. If a dog has a collar on, hopefully it does, you simply grab that collar, inch it up as high as you can, and lift straight up and wait a handful of seconds. And the dog will, it has a choice. It's, well, I'd like to bite this, but wait a second, I can't breathe. Let me go ahead and let go and see if I can breathe. And that's how it works. It creates almost like a gag reflex. It's typically, by the way, 99.999% of police dogs are removed from, whether it's a training bite or an actual street bite, or what we call choked off the bite, or what's called a tactical removal. You know, it's actually kind of a myth that they let go with a verbal command. You can give the verbal command, but the dog's like, yeah, I'll be with you in a second. I'm not quite finished with what I'm doing here. And so we have to do a choke off, but it doesn't harm the dog at all.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they take care of us.
Galen asks, thanks for being a member for 3 months, Galen. How much e-collar training do you use in training?
We are huge proponents of e-collar training. For those who don't know, e-collar stands for an electric collar. The bad name for it is shock collar, but that's old school to think that the tool is like just this evil device that just emits heavy shocks. It can, but when used properly, it's like a remote control for your dog. It's a digital leash. Just like a leash, by the way, we go back to the idea of how would you get a dog off of a bite? If you have a leash, you can often take a leash. I usually have one handy, but you can make most any leash. If you loop it through the handle, you have what's considered a slip lead, like what most vets use to get a dog in and out. Just like a little circular thing. You can create a collar out of a leash. So as long as you have a leash or a collar handy, you can use it to get a dog to let go of a bite. But even a leash can be as gentle as you like, or it can be as extreme as you like. But what e-collar training does is it does a bunch of stuff. But one of the favorite things that I love about e-collar training is it allows the dog to be off leash. So a fully off leash dog, whether it's in your front yard, your backyard, or out at a park somewhere at the beach, allows the dog to, I mean, what would they rather do? Be stuck on a 4-foot or a 6-foot leash, or the freedom to stretch their legs? What the e-collar allows you to do, among many and many other things, is to get a reliable recall. And every police dog on the planet is trained with e-collar. So that we can have that ability to reach out and touch them and control them. There's a lot of horsepower behind these dogs, we call it. And so when we send a dog out on a straight to bite someone, a straight meaning off leash, we have to send them up into an attic or down into a crawl space to get a suspect that's refusing to come out. Oftentimes the leash becomes more of a liability. It can get tangled. The bad guys can use it to strangle the dog. That has happened, strangle them to death.
Wow.
Brutal.
And the dog in with no leash on, let it be freed up. But we also need the ability. Remember, I told you you can give the verbal command for the dog to let go, and they'll kind of give you the bird. And you can use the e-collar also to say, hey, you know, I told you to let go. You got to let go right now. So.
Wow. Thank you, Don Burke, for your super chat. Don asked, did your DDR dog come from Lord bloodlines?
No, not that I'm aware of, but we buy them through what we call vendors or importers. So we don't often know exactly which bloodline they come from or who the breeder is over there. But that one doesn't ring a bell to me.
Okay. Maria says she wishes you were, Marta, I'm sorry, says she wishes you were training cats too.
Hey,
Thank you.
I'm a dog guy. I'm so dog that, like, me and cats, I just don't get them. You know, you'd be petting them one minute, they're purring, and then they smack you in the face or bite you. My mom, on the other hand, is a cat lady. She's got like 13 of them. So.
Wow, really?
Yeah, she's a crazy
let's
cat
see.
lady.
Kimberly, thank you for your super chat. Unfortunately, Brian Albert had a bad temper, loves to fight for no reason. He punched a coworker in the face at a Christmas party for no reason.
What?
That poor dog is probably buried with the pool. I love your show. Thank you for that. I want to speculate about where poor Chloe is now, but that is a sad thought. Sherry, thank you for your super sticker. And Elf becoming a new member. And Garrett, you have anything else you wanted to show us video-wise? Because we have about 15 more minutes before I need to wrap up and get on my mommy Uber route. So,
sure. I mean, if there's anything specific they want to hear about, or if they have questions, I'd love to take questions.
Yeah, if you have a question, put hashtag Garrett in the chat so that I can see it a little more easily. Somebody said, Tina the nurse said, would there be dog DNA in wound and on clothing if you know?
You know, that's not my specialty, but there would definitely be saliva. There's a lot of bacteria in dogs' mouths. There would be
That's a good
something
question.
you would think. And I'm very interested too, because here's something that comes to mind. If he was wearing a long sleeve shirt and there was a dog bite, that shirt's going to be shredded. Now, was he found with a long sleeve shirt on, or maybe that was removed, tossed, burned? I would love to know where. And same thing too, if it is a high speed vehicle versus pedestrian, those clothes could have some shred marks or something. So that's another.
Yeah, the defense is fighting to get those the clothing to test. Apparently, there were some photos of the decedent at the hospital, and the clothing was either in a pile on the floor or by his feet. There's a lot of issues with evidence collection in this case. So, I would imagine that there would be some dog DNA in there, but hey, I'm not a DNA expert either. Let's see what we can. Uncle Fredo, thank you for your super chat. Chloe was in bedroom on with Nix, Olay, and Jenwet up to inform Nicole about a fight, and Chloe ran to the commotion in the basement. Okay, I don't know the veracity of that, but thank you actually for your super chat. That's very nice of you. And let's see if you see any questions, let me know, and you can certainly answer them. Question: if Chloe was a rescue, could the dog be more reactive or anxious, potentially explaining why she didn't like other dogs?
That's a good question.
Yeah, often rescue dogs can be more prone to having behavioral issues because we have to ask in the first place, like, why did they end up in a rescue? So you often find dogs that are in rescues are a lot of aggression, by the way. We know the dog was aggressive. Most aggression, I would say 95% of the time, is what's called fear-based aggression. That dog that we showed, the German Shepherd that bit the police officer, that's actually a fear-based aggression. That is a dog who thinks everyone is out to get them, and they have a choice: fight or flight. And when you see fear-reactive dogs, they're actually the most dangerous dogs to work as a canine handler, as a dog trainer. A fear-reactive dog, because they're very unpredictable, and they will bite you because they're scared. And what scares them? Well, we don't know what triggers them, right? It could be as simple as they don't like people who wear glasses. They don't tell you that, but your uncle comes in wearing glasses, and all of a sudden the dog's triggered and fires off for no apparent reason. We don't know what it is that triggers them sometimes. But you can reach like a super fear reactive dog. A classic case is they have that fight or flight. Literally, they're having an adrenaline dump. They think you're the boogeyman, or the boogeyman is out there to get them for no apparent reason. It could be poor genetics, or it could be something that happened, some trauma in their background, which is what gets kind of scary with rescue dogs. We don't know what the trauma was. Was it a guy with glasses that kicked the dog one time, and now they're very quick to lash out at men or children? Sometimes children they want to be nice to the dog, but they pull the dog's hair or their ears, or they step on their tail, and now the dog has this deep memory of no, little people are dangerous. I don't want them any closer. And so they lash out. But a typical dog that has that fear-based aggression would be, and this is the most dangerous thing sometimes you can do as a trainer, the dog's scared and it's backed in a crate. Well, you got to train it. You're like, hey, come on out. I'd love to train you. And it's like, nah, I ain't coming out. I don't trust you. I don't know what's going on. And you got to reach into that crate. The problem is
I got bit by one of those too.
To run away is off. So the only thing left to them is to lash out and bite to make you, the bad guy, go away. And so you'll see that a lot with dogs that are backed into corners. And that's where a lot of leash activity comes from. Not to bore your folks with this, but the dog is fascinated. It's trapped on a leash. We don't look at it that way, but it is tethered to you. And so I can't run because I'm stuck on a leash, but oh my God, here comes a guy, or here comes a dog. I was attacked at a dog park at a young age. Not me, but the dog is like, no. Big dogs, little dogs, they can attack me. And hey, don't come over here. And then you'll see the dog kind of put on a big show, like, I'm crazy. And you'll see them barking. They're not barking because they're confident. They're not barking because they're proud and they're just macho, right? They're putting on a big show because deep down, they're actually terrified of what's about to go down. Even though it's go down, in their mind, they're convinced, oh my God, there's a dog walking towards me on the sidewalk. We're about to get in a fight. Yo, get ready. Hackles up, tail up, get big, look scary. If I look big and scary, maybe I won't have to fight. And so that's where a lot of, quote, aggression comes from, is actually just dogs generally being under socialized, poor genetics, and they're just scared, very quick to do something stupid to kind of defend themselves. You know, sometimes I use the example, you see this a lot actually with police officers who aren't trained as well, who aren't naturally like confident. Maybe they don't know how to fight. They don't know how to handle themselves. And it's those officers that are a little more shaky that end up doing stupider stuff, like very quick to resort to using their gun when maybe it could have been handled with their hands. Very quick to, you know, pull the trigger, so to speak. Anyways, we could go.
So interesting. Lula Morocco, thank you for your super chat. I don't know if you can answer this, but Garrett, please explain the measured levels of canine bites, how this case is not a level 6, and the laceration to O'Keefe's head was not a canine bite. I don't know if you've seen the picture of his head.
I did see it. Yeah, it does not look like a canine bite. It doesn't mean dogs can bite in the head, but that I think, because it also had multiple fractures. Very atypical for a dog to, I say atypical, I don't even know if it could happen, a dog bite to a human's head and cause a fracture. Like, that's not going to happen. Very rarely, really strong, powerful dogs. We're talking, this is why we don't use Rottweilers anymore, by the way. We used to use Rottweilers back in the 80s and 90s. A lot of bite force, 130, 140 pound dogs, and they can actually cause fractures in the arm.
I have no
with a
doubt.
dog bite. Very
Lizzie's
rare
got a
for
really
dog to
good
cause
grip.
any type of bone fracture. It can happen, but definitely not on the head. And that injury to the back of the head does not look anything like a dog bite. That looks like, you know, I hate to speculate, but a hammer, something heavy, something metal, you know.
Yeah, that what it sounds looks like to me too. But you know, I'm just a lawyer. Is there a code word for a canine to make a positive hit on a vehicle stop?
No. I think what they might be alluding to, and I don't know, but a lot of people think that we, well, I don't really want to get into it, but there's some speculation that we will make a dog deliver what's called a false indication. Like, let's say we suspect there's narcotics in the car, and we can use the dog to circumvent a search warrant to say, like, get into the car. And we're waiting for the dog to alert to signify whether there's narcotics present or not. And there's some speculation that police officers will, hey, we need to get in that car, make sure the dog puts on a show. Look, anything could happen, but no, I mean, if the police officers are doing what they're supposed to be doing, no, they're not cueing the dog. In fact, we train the cueing out as much as we can. It's one of the trickier things we do to make sure we don't cue the dog, because we don't want what's considered a false alert. I would hate to have a false alert, and it actually degrades the training. Because the dog should only be alerting at the source of odor and getting paid for that. And if you have a dog just giving what's called false alerts left and right, it's not good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Excellent. Garrett, do you have an alternative to getting a dog off of attacking if the dog had no collar?
Yeah, I'm just telling you, and I go back to it again. The only way to get a dog off of a bite is to, I mean, the guaranteed way that works 100 out of 100 times is to turn off the oxygen. Think of, and there's actually a video out there, I'm not going to try to find it. There's a dog with no collar, and this guy, I don't know if he was MMA trained or what, but puts the dog in, I guess, what you would be considered a rear naked choke, just a typical choke out, and he just chokes the dog out. And
yeah, it would have to be another person doing that, though. I guess you couldn't do that if you were being bitten, attacked yourself, right?
There are ways, but I actually don't even like getting into it because
yeah, let's not get into it.
Yeah, and the reason being, like, I don't like, you never know who's listening, and I don't want to teach bad guys. Let's say, not that you're.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we don't want to do that.
How to get a police dog off of a bite. Yeah, but there are.
Yeah, what's the best way to select a puppy with a mellow temperament, low dominant temperament?
That is a great question. We actually have some videos up that talk about how to pick a winner. And maybe while I'm talking, I'll try to find it. I don't think it'll actually take me that long to find this because, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words, a video's worth 1,000,000. But we like to do a test where we put the puppy on their back. And that's one great way to do it. We love to see what the puppy looks like as it's amongst its litter mates. You can really see the personality of the puppies when they're playing with each other. Who's the omega hiding in the corner, shaking? I stay very far away from the omegas, which could maybe be considered the runt of the litter, but that is a underdeveloped dog, both physically and mentally. And those dogs can tend to be
Oh.
cause a lot of problems down the road, be like fear biters. So we want to stay away from that.
Oh.
Let me see if I can find the video.
I didn't.
We also tend to say,
think of
hey, stay
that.
away from like she or whoever that was that submitted that question. Alco, excuse me. Mellow temperament, low dominance. Well, one of the cool things you can do with when you get the opportunity, if you're working with a breeder, throw in a toy or throw in some type of treat or like a bone with some meat on it. 8 puppies, 1 prey item, and see who runs around with it. See who, because even at 6, 7, 8 weeks old, you can see who the tougher dogs are in that litter. And you may not want to go for the biggest and baddest and toughest. Often we go for the dog that first comes up to us. Right? Oh, it loves us. Ah, yeah, maybe it loves you. Or maybe it's also just the most confident puppy in that litter that cares, no F's given. It's like, who are you? I'm 8-week-old puppy. Who are you? Very confident dog. I like those dogs, but they can be more of a handful, right? I bet you that German Shepherd that bit the delivery driver was probably that real confident dog in that litter. Just very confident. So anyways.
Yeah. Garrett, does the dog's nails make any of the lacerations, or is it all teeth?
They can, but those don't look like, no, I've seen like really significant scratch marks from a police dog, and they don't cause lacerations. They just cause like almost like a pink kind of, they don't typically lacerate the skin much. So no.
All right. Let's see. Do you have any final thoughts while I look through the last questions? Any final thoughts? Somebody said the bruise on his hand to me looked like a paw print. What does Garrett think about that? I don't know if you can opine on that or not.
No, a dog paw wouldn't cause bruising like that.
No. Okay, everyone hit the like button because, there's like over 1,500 people here, so we should have at least 1,500 likes. Let's see. All right, so let's just look. If you could pull up the autopsy photos again of the arm.
Yeah.
Since you have them on your end. And knowing what you know. So with your experience that our injury appears to you to be a dog bite. For those of you who are just tuning in, we went through this kind of at length at the beginning of the stream. So you can go back later and replay. And then other people are saying, how confident are you that those injuries are from a dog attack? Oh, let me say, do you? Okay, here we go.
Does this work?
Yep, perfect.
Just the more and more I look at it, the more and more I'm convinced, I would bet money that this is a dog bite.
Let me ask you a question on this picture on the right here. There looks what looks to be a giant bump on his right bicep above the first 2 lacerations, I'm going to call them. Can a dog dislocate a person's shoulder by latching on like that? I saw one of your videos where you said, and the dog actually came after you with one of those, what do you call the protective device that you wear on your right arm when you're training?
Yeah, sleeve.
Yeah, and you said, it feels like I dislocated my shoulder. I'm just wondering if that is something that could happen, because I don't know I'm not a medical examiner.
Yeah, it would have to be an extremely well-trained dog that is very powerful to bite and hold, and then in combination with a handler using 200 pounds of their own body weight to pull the dog. When could this happen? Let's say a suspect's hiding in a closet, refusing to come out. We've seen that happen. They're in a car, they're like seat belted in. I've been in situations like that. That dog has got a really good grip, and we use the 80, 90, 100 pounds worth of dog, the 200 pounds plus of me, and we yank with all of our might. Yeah, maybe you could dislocate a shoulder, but it is not typical for a dog by itself to dislocate a shoulder.
Okay. It says also John's autopsy wasn't done until 2 days later. So these wounds, the pictures of these wounds might look slightly different because of that. And yeah, I think we have to take that into consideration too.
Yeah, and you can even see what looks like swelling to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's very typical of dog bites is to have swelling. But, who knows? But these, I don't know how else you explain these, but this is very, very typical of puncture/lacerations. And this here too looks like it'd be caused by canines, but this is the one that sticks out the most to me.
Can you
with
enlarge
those.
that photo a little bit?
Yeah.
It's a V shape. I can see from here. Yeah, it looks like a V shape.
Yeah, and again, to me, that looks like the front teeth getting a very shallow bite, but this looks like very typical dog bites to me, like very typical.
And you've seen quite a few dog bites.
A lot. Yeah.
22 years of training canine dogs and police dogs, and as an actual police officer, were you a lieutenant or something at the city of Miami Police Department?
Yes.
All right,
I've
we've
seen
gone through
a
all
lot.
of these. Any final thoughts? I'll give you the screen for any final thoughts before we wrap this. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your knowledge with us, because I really needed to make sure that I wasn't in the twilight zone from saying that I thought that these photos looked like a dog attack injury.
Good on
So
her.
I'll give you the screen for a second. If you have any final thoughts, certainly tell everyone where they.
Sure. So thank you so very much for the opportunity. I mean, really, my favorite part about this whole ordeal is just making connections like this, getting outside of the usual, like, hey, how do I get my dog to stop chewing my furniture, going back into something that is near and dear to my heart, which is police canine work, talking about, dog bites, and just love the opportunity to share my knowledge and reach out to some new folks who maybe haven't heard of me before. And for those of you who are interested in learning more about dog behavior or learning how to train your dog to be the best that it can be, we actually have the best. I won't say that, just because they're mine. They really are. We put our heart and soul into them. The best online dog training courses available. So American Standard Dog Training is our channel, but we have our website, which is DIYcanine.com, as in do-it-yourself dog training. We think the best person to train your dog to be the best that it can be is yourself, because you live with a dog, you know it better than anybody else. And so that's what we specialize in. We have some of the best online training courses, period, and the best support ever. Our mission in life is to help you get your dog across the finish line, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish with your dog. So please feel free to reach out to us. We're very easy to get a hold of from our website or through Instagram, whatever you like. And we can kind of help you with whatever issues you may be having with your dog, so that it doesn't end up biting someone in your basement
or in the backyard or anywhere on the street on a leash. I just want to address this one more comment, because I do not think this person may have tuned in late. So let's just say this louder, a little louder for the people in the back or the people that are tuning in late who say, I don't see punctures, I see lacerations, but not dog bites. No offense to your guest.
Yeah, and again, having seen countless dog bites, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands.
This is the thing.
It is extremely rare to see puncture wounds on a dog bite. They are almost always lacerations. Always. I mean, like I said, here you go. This is as close as we can get. Lacerations. That's what they look like. And the more untrained the dog is, the more likely it is to be a laceration than to be a puncture wound, because again, they're biting, they're pulling. You are also pulling away. They are going to be lacerations 99 out of 100 times.
Look
as you
at
see
that.
here, right? Just
See?
lacerations is what it looks like. Ripping, the ripping of flesh.
Thank you. So to those who say those are paw scratches, you say
no. Paw scratches wouldn't do that. Maybe from a lion or a bear, but
thank you everyone for tuning in. Thanks to the mods for keeping it classy today. Thank you.
All right, guys. So what did you think of that? Wasn't that amazing? So I want to thank, again, attorney Melanie Little for letting me use her content and educate us on these different dog bites. I'm having a very hard time looking at those injuries on him and going, oh, that looks like he was run over by a car. No. It looks like that guy was bitten and beaten, in my personal opinion. So, you know what, guys? I want to thank you very much for hanging out with me. It's been a very long day. But you know what? I always love spending time with you guys. So there is that. So with that said, guys, I am going to call this one. And yeah, Thank you ever so much for spending the time with me, and I'll see you guys in the next one.